Imagine waking up in a world where comfort is a non-existent concept, where the very idea of freedom belongs only to kings, and the silence of the dawn is broken only by the creaking of the rotten floorboards beneath your thin body. You open your eyes, but there is no light. The ceiling above your head is made of straw and rotten wood, the walls of mud and manure. The air is cold, dense, smelling of mold, smoke, and accumulated sweat. You feel itchy all over your body, maybe lice, maybe fleas. The last thing you ate was a piece of dry bread 2 days ago. Your name nobody remembers. Your last name doesn't even exist. You are just one among millions of European peasants of the 14th century, a time when being born poor wasn't a condition, it was a sentence. There is no cell phone, no electricity, no hope of advancement. If you get sick, you die. If you question, you are punished. If you dream, you suffer. In this video, we will live a single day as a medieval peasant, an imaginative and brutal experiment that will make you thankful for clean water, for a dry towel, or for simply having a bathroom with a door. Welcome to the Middle Ages. Prepare to suffer. And don't complain. It's still just morning.
Your house is, in fact, a hut. Small, poorly built, with walls made of mud mixed with dry manure. The straw roof keeps out some of the rain, but never enough. Every time it rains hard, leaks appear in every corner. The floor is packed earth. There is no bed as we know it today, just a pile of hay on which you lie with 3, 4, or 5 other members of your family. The smell is a mixture of wood smoke, sweat, mold, and manure from the animals that sleep in the same room. Yes, chickens and pigs are often kept inside the house, not out of whim, but to protect them from thieves or predators. There is no privacy. Life is collective in every sense. You sleep, eat, and even relieve yourself in front of others. Couples rarely have intimate moments alone. Children grow up seeing and hearing everything, and they learn from an early age that life is hard, and the body is a tool for work. In winter, everyone huddles together to share body heat. In summer, the air becomes almost unbreathable. You learn to ignore the smell, the dirt, and the discomfort. It's either that or death. But this is just your home, the easy part of the day. Now it's time to go out to work.
You wake up with an aching body, but not from an illness necessarily, but from existing. Your spine screams, your feet are cracked, your hands bleed from cracks in the palms, and you haven't even started the day. There is no concept of self-care. There is no scented soap, no painkillers, not a moment to rest. If it hurts, it hurts. If it swells, let it swell. You carry on. And if you stop, well, starving to death is just a matter of time. Simple diseases today like the flu can kill. A tooth infection can be your final sentence. A poorly healed cut can become gangrenous. The body is not something to be admired. It is something that is dragged, that suffers, that works. You live with lice, with fleas, with worms in your intestines. Everyone lives like this. A bath, when it happens, is with cold water from a river or a bucket, once a month maybe. And soap, when it exists, is made of animal fat and ash. It doesn't perfume, it just scratches. Today, your meal will be exactly the same as yesterday and the day before. A piece of dark, hard bread made from coarse grains, with stones accidentally ground in. The risk of breaking a tooth is real. With luck, maybe a thin vegetable broth. Meat? Only on religious feast days, and even then, maybe. You eat little, but you chew a lot. Digestion is slow and difficult. Salt is rare, expensive, and everything you eat spoils quickly. Many foods are covered in invisible fungi, but you eat them anyway. There is no choice. The wine is weak, the milk is sour, and the water, often contaminated. The concept of filtering water does not yet exist. Diarrhea is part of childhood and of old age. Many children die before the age of 5. Anyone who reaches 30 is already considered resilient. You don't think about physical fitness. Your body is not a temple, it is a broken machine that cannot stop, and it will have to move now. The sun is rising, it's time to go to the field.
In the Middle Ages, the concept of rest is fiction. There are no long weekends, or paid time off. Work begins at sunrise and only ends when the light is gone. You are a peasant. Your salary? Maybe part of the harvest, maybe nothing. You owe your loyalty to the feudal lord. You work his land. You plant for him. You live on what is left, and sometimes little is left. Each morning begins with exhausting physical tasks. You get up, eat a piece of hard bread, and head straight for the field. Barrett, you will plow the land with a plow pulled by oxen, or harvest vegetables with your wounded hands. You will carry bundles of firewood, dig holes, cut branches with rudimentary tools. You bend your body all day long. The muscles tremble, the spine protests, but there is no time to stop. No one replaces you. The earth does not wait. And if it rains too much, everything is lost. If drought comes, the same. Work brings no guarantee, only more work. If you are a woman, your routine is even more brutal. Yes, you also work in the field, but when you return, your domestic work begins. Grinding grain with stones until it becomes flour, kneading dough with your bare hands for hours, spinning wool until your fingers bleed, sewing clothes, scraping leather, washing pans with ash and cold water, and taking care of the children, even if you yourself have a fever or pain. The house is dark, damp, without ventilation. The smoke from the fireplace enters your lungs, your eyes burn, and yet the fire cannot go out. It is what warms, cooks, protects. You work while pregnant. You work while sick. You work while menstruating without pads, with rough cloths between your legs. There is no retirement. You work until your body fails, and when it fails, the best you can hope for is that someone will take care of you. Life is a cycle without pause. Work, pain, sleep, wake up, and repeat it all until you die. Your house has no glass windows. It has no wooden floor. It has no door with a lock. It is made of mud, straw, and crooked wood. The roof leaks. The wind comes through the cracks. And when it rains inside too. You live with your family in a single room. Everything happens there. Sleeping, cooking, eating, caring for the children, the sick, and the animals. The division between the house and the animal pen is at most a thin wall of damp wood. The floor is packed earth, cold, hard, full of insects. The bed is a pile of straw. There is no pillow. There are no clean blankets. The mattress is always wet, foul-smelling, infested with fleas and lice. At night, it is pitch black. There are no lamps, only the unstable glow of a tallow candle, if you have one. Otherwise, the only light comes from the moon, if it decides to appear. You wake up cold. You sleep cold. You smell the smoke, the dirt, the manure. The house does not protect. It just exists, barely. You don't live alone. You live in a community. The village is small. Everyone knows each other. Everyone sees everything. If you argue with your wife, the neighbors hear. If a child gets sick, the whole village talks about it. The concept of privacy does not exist. Your day, your choices, your life, everything is exposed. Judgment is constant. A whisper here, a sideways glance there. If you don't follow the rules of the church, the norms of the feudal lord, or the customs of the village, you become a target. But this same community is your salvation. When the winter is harsh, when your roof collapses, when food is scarce, it is your neighbors who help. They trade, they share, they lend. Life is intertwined. No one survives alone. Living in the Middle Ages is not having a home. It's having an unstable shelter. A life in full view of everyone, and a constant feeling that everything could collapse at any moment.
You wake up with a fever, aching joints, a chill that won't go away. Nowadays, this would just be a cold, a day of rest, maybe a pill, and everything is resolved. But here, in the Middle Ages, a sneeze can be the beginning of the end. There are no hospitals, there are no antibiotics, there is no concept of hygiene. People live together crowded, filthy. Rats walk through the houses. Fleas jump from skin to skin. Clean water is a luxury, and the dirt, visible or invisible, is in everything. A simple cough can mean tuberculosis. A small wound gets infected and turns into gangrene. A cut on the foot becomes a death sentence. And what if it's an epidemic? You hear the church bells toll. Someone has died. Another one, and another one. In weeks, half the village can disappear. You start to avoid others, but it's too late. The plague has already arrived. You don't go to the doctor. The doctor, as you know him, does not exist. What there are barbers, healers, and monks with old recipe books. Many believe that diseases are divine punishments, imbalances of the body's humors, or the results of the moon's influence. To alleviate your pains, they apply leeches, they perform bloodletting, they prescribe mixtures of herbs, urine, earth, charcoal, ground bones, sometimes even dried feces. If you have seizures, they say you are possessed. If you have hallucinations, you could be burned for witchcraft. There is little science. The fear is immense. Dentists? They are blacksmiths with pliers. Psychiatrists? That's something for the future. Anesthesia, a distant invention. Pain is part of the routine. You suffer, you scream, you bleed, and no one can, or knows how to, relieve you. Life expectancy barely reaches 35 years. And it's not because time passes quickly, it's because life ends early.
The bell tolls, and even though you are tired, hungry, and in pain, you get up. Because here, not obeying the call of the church is more than disrespect. It is a sin, and to sin means to risk your soul. The church is not just a building in the center of the village. It is the center of your life. Every birth, every death, every harvest, every drought, everything is interpreted through faith. The priest knows how to read, a rare thing, and therefore he also reads the rules of life. The Mass is in Latin, a language you don't understand, but you kneel anyway. You repeat what others say. You beat your chest. You ask for forgiveness for sins you don't even know if you've committed. Heaven is a promise, hell a constant threat. And since you have nothing on this earth, paradise is all that's left to hope for. There is no science to explain the thunder, nor the eclipses, nor the plague. The church fills this void with doctrine. Everything is God's will. Or worse, the work of the devil. You are afraid of the dark forest, not just because of the wild beasts, but because of the sins it hides. You fear the women who know too much about herbs, the whispers of the night, the births with deformities. Anything can be a sign of witchcraft. And the punishment for heresy or occult practices? Flames. The fire purifies the body to save the soul, they say. Indulgences, pieces of paper signed by priests or bishops, promise to reduce your time in purgatory. But they have a price, and you barely have enough to eat. Even so, you kneel. You make the sign of the cross. You ask a distant God not to forget you. And you pray. Because in this age, to live is constant pain, and to believe is the only hope that remains. You hear a muffled cry. It's your younger brother. He's 5 years old and already carries firewood, feeds the animals, and helps his mother with the harvest. Here, there is no childhood as you know it. There is no school. There are no toys. There is no free time. Children are little adults in training. From the moment they can walk and understand simple commands, they are given tasks, and if they don't help, they are a burden. Playing, maybe with a tree branch, a stone, or by making up stories while working. But to stop, to have fun, that's a luxury. There are no birthday cakes, no presents. The only real celebration is surviving another year. Childhood ends early, often before the age of 10. The chances of a child dying before the age of 5 are immense. Fevers, infections, contaminated water, animal bites, malnutrition, anything can be fatal. If you are the eldest child, you may have already buried 2 or 3 siblings. Death is so common that many parents don't even baptize their children in the first few days. They wait to see if they will survive. And when a child gets sick, the cure is a mixture of prayers, herbal compresses, and faith. Doctors? Only in the cities, and even then more dangerous than useful. Vaccines, antibiotics, hygiene are concepts that don't even exist. Formal education is also not part of your life. Learning to read and write is a privilege of priests, nobles, or, with great luck, artisans. Your learning comes from repetition, planting, harvesting, obeying, surviving. Girls are taught to sew, cook, take care of their siblings. Boys learn to cut wood, hunt, pull the plow. At 12, 13 years old, they are already seen as adults. There is no adolescence. Innocence is lost early. The harshness of life does not wait for maturity. It demands it.
You make a mistake. Maybe you took a hidden loaf of bread, maybe a chicken that wasn't yours. In your modern mind, you expect a warning, a trial, maybe even a lawyer. But here, in the medieval village, justice is not blind, and much less fair. Laws exist, but they are not written in a universal code. They are passed down by word of mouth, shaped by local customs, and, above all, by the power of the feudal lord. He is the law. His judgment is the final word. If you are poor, a small offense can cost you dearly. Public whippings, humiliation, branding with a hot iron, or even mutilation. If you are a noble, the consequences are milder. Sometimes none at all. The blood that runs in your veins is worth more than the crime committed. There are no prisons as we know them. Punishment means pain, exposure, shame. The trial? It is often held in the public square with witnesses, but without a defense. And the population watches, not as critics, but as a spectacle. Now imagine the crime is serious, theft of something valuable, or worse, questioning the authority of the church or the Lord. You are tied up, maybe to a stake, maybe in an iron chair. The torture begins. It is not just a form of punishment. It is seen as a tool for truth. Extreme pain makes the guilty confess, even if they are innocent. Thumbs crushed, ribs broken, skin torn, burns. The cruelty has no limits, and it is legitimized by faith. Pain purifies, suffering expels evil. And if the offense is against the faith or the established order, the end can be the worst of all, the fire. Heresy, witchcraft, treason, all can lead you to the stake. Tied up, soaked in oil, in front of the whole village. Screams, smoke, burning flesh. The people watch, some with pity, others with fervor. Because in this world, punishment serves to educate, to show the price of disobedience. There are no guaranteed rights. There is no appeal. Medieval justice is, above all, punitive and controlled by those in power. The bell tolls. It's Sunday, and the whole village walks in silence to the small stone church on the top of the hill. Inside, the air is cold and damp. The images are severe. The stained glass windows show flames, swords, tears. The priest begins the Mass in Latin. Nobody understands a word, but everyone bows their head. In the Middle Ages, you don't argue with God, or rather, with those who speak in His name. Faith guides every step, every decision, everything that happens. A good harvest, a plague, a sudden death is seen as divine will, reward, or punishment. Heaven is not just a concept, it is a promise. And hell, an ever-present nightmare. Demons, plagues, eternal punishments, all of this is real for those who live here. More real than hunger itself. Life is suffering, but according to the Church, if you accept your pain with humility, you will be rewarded after death. It is a faith built on fear, and fear is a powerful tool for control. PCI, but not everything is sacred within the Church. Outside of it, medieval faith mixes with the occult. Saints and relics coexist with spells, folk prayers, and signs in the sky. A woman who heals with herbs. Today, she would be a pharmacist. In the Middle Ages, she could be a witch. A black cat that crosses your path, a sign of a curse. A child is born with a mark on its face, the work of the devil. The people pray to the saints, but they also bury objects in the field, hang amulets on the doors, recite ancient incantations that no one remembers where they came from. It is faith, but it is also desperation. Life is too fragile, and any protection is welcome, whether it comes from God or the forest. The line between religion and superstition is thin and dangerous, because if someone starts to attract too much attention, if they heal too much, divine too much, or simply bother, a rumor is all it takes. And the fire of faith can turn into a pyre of death. Here, to believe is to survive, but to believe wrongly is to be burned to death. The Middle Ages are over. Or, at least, that's what they say. But did they really end? The wars, the famine, the fear of the unknown, the moral judgments,
the persecution of those who think differently. All of this still exists. It just changed its clothes. The walls have fallen, the castles have become ruins, but the medieval mindset? That still endures. In discourse, in customs, even in systems of power. The past never truly disappears. It changes form and hides in plain sight. Look around you. The cities that grow on the ruins of others, the churches built on ancient temples, the ideas that repeat themselves century after century. The modern world is a house built on the rubble of the Middle Ages. And, if you look closely, the dust is still in the air. Behind the history books and official dates, there is another world. The world of the forgotten. Common men and women who lived, loved, feared, prayed, and disappeared. With no name, no statue, no glory. But they shaped the world with sweat, with blood, with silence. And maybe, by telling these stories, we can hear a little of what they would have said if they had had a voice. The Middle Ages were not just made of kings and crusades. They were made of people. People like you. People who resisted. People who were afraid. People who believed. And now, it's our turn to listen. Spotting if you've made it this far, it's because these stories have spoken to you in some way. So don't let this echo die. Subscribe to the channel to continue discovering what has been hidden in history. Activate the bell so you don't miss the next chapters of the past. And, if you like, share this video with someone who also enjoys diving into the shadows of time. The Middle Ages may be over, but the mystery is just beginning.